Welcome to my craft room. This room used to be my oldest daughter's bedroom, and she's moved out, and I've been using it to craft and do lesson plans and to do shipping for Etsy and stuff. But since I retired again this year, I'll have more time to do my crafts and my journals and sell more on Etsy and like get my vintage flat lays and things ready to sell on Instagram. And so I wanted it to be a space that was calm, and I wanted it to be a space where I could create and be inspired and have things around me that I love. So that's just kind of an overview. Hey, Ollie. But I wanted to kind of take you around and let you know what I used. I say this is my maximalist cottagecore dream room. So it's all the things that I love. It might be cluttered to you, but it inspires me. So when you first walk in, well, in the closet I have Etsy storage, so inventory of things that we're selling and all my shipping supplies. And then on this little cart that I got from Michael's, I added little containers that have envelopes and blank papers, stamps, some craft materials, my glues, my crocodile, different scissors, clips. This book is an inspirational book that I like to use when I'm doing nature journaling. It's an amazing book by Claire Walker Leslie. And then this shelf I've had for a long time. I actually got it at the antique store where we have a booth, the Workshop Vintage Market, years ago. And it's perfect for supplies. It holds books and containers that I labeled with things that I use the most often: watercolors, sticker books, punches. Meant to move my drink, real life. And this cute little garden house my husband bought me from Books A Million, and it was really fun to put together. I have vintage containers. These are some things I'm getting ready to take to the shop, some more junk journal cards and small books, altered playing cards, things like that. I've started selling some of those things at our local vintage booth. This old lunchbox, I love this lunchbox. I've had it for a long time. I got it at I think I got it at an antique store, but it's an old aluminum lunchbox, and someone has decoupaged all these cool cottagecore kind of things on the inside. On the inside, it is lined with this really pretty fabric, and I just have scrap pieces of paper there that I can use for collage and clusters and things like that. And then I have in this one, these are scraps of cloth and ribbon. This is my ideas and inspiration book, where if I get ideas from a YouTube video, from another junk journal creator, then I make a sample and put it in that book so I can look back at it and be inspired and then use those ideas if I get kind of stuck. I tend to use the same techniques over and over, so it's good to have that. Then I have a few plants up here and dried florals and inspiration, and these are all the pictures in this room I thrifted, so they were all really cheap, but I love them. And this old bulletin board I just covered with a scrap piece of cloth that was left over from making my daughter some curtains, and I just put some things up there to kind of inspire me, pictures that I liked or things that I've picked up that I love. And then my husband built this beautiful desk. We couldn't find one that fit the space that would hold all of my things, When I started getting ready to do this room, I took out all of my craft supplies and I organized them. I have a lot, but I do lots of different crafts, so that's okay, I guess. And then I have this little sewing box I use to hold my washi tapes, words, punches, my distressed inks, tags, labels, cutouts, fussy cuts, and that's my current journal that I'm working in, and my task light. This old window my husband rescued from the trash several years ago, and it's been hanging in this room as decor, but I thought I would use it like a pegboard, and so I bought these little containers from Amazon, and they were fairly cheap, but they are huge cups, so they hold my markers, colored pencils, chalk pens, highlighters, paintbrushes, all those kind of things. And then I just kind of decorated it with some things that I like to look at. These flowers were given to me at my last retirement party by a sweet friend, and so they're drying. This coaster I found I think it was at an antique store, but it was only like $1 because it's really just a coaster and there was only one, but I hung that up there. I'm a big birder, so I love to decorate with birds. I thrifted that pink mug and it holds my glue. And then that this is a vintage, really pretty bowl, and I just used it to hold my sari silks and my awl and some things that I'm using to journal. My Google Home. This shelf I've had for a really long time. I'm not sure where I got it, some antique store, and it's great. It holds cards and envelopes and post-it notes, paper clips, things like that. My sweet friend made this beautiful bird pottery bowl, and it just has some little bits and bobs of things that I'm actually using in my journal right now. Have some more plants. On the accordion rack, I have things that I have either thrifted or bought. I bought that beautiful heart from a friend on Instagram, and I found this, I guess it's a table runner, and it was embroidered with this sweet little deer with the pink accents, and just some pretty things. And then this old clipboard, I'm a retired school teacher, so anything school or paper I love. And this one, I change it up. Right now it has an old book page of a wood thrush and a red-tailed hawk, and then a thing that you put in front of the book to tell whose it is, book label. Can't think what that's called right now. But I can change that up, and it's just hanging on a little rose hook, like a push pin, but it has a hook on it. And then this cart is holding lots of books. As I said, I'm a retired teacher. I love books. So I have books on the top that I'm using in my junk journal, as well as some files of papers that I've saved to use in my journals, my glue gun. And then the second row has ephemera, books that I pull from, old school books, song books, dictionaries, things like that. And then the bottom row has books that I've torn the pages out of that I'm using as covers to create journals to either sell in my Etsy shop or at our vintage booth, or to actually use. And then this basket, this holds my embroidery. And then this cloth, this actually was a curtain, that a set of curtains, like 2 panels and 2 valances, that I got for 75 cents at a hospice store. And what I did was I took that and I cut it and I covered the shelves that my husband Marty built me. So let me pull out my pressed flower container and show you. So I covered the shelves with that beautiful cloth. I just fell in love with that cloth. I just thought it was so pretty, but I already had curtains in this room, so that's how I used it. So it has these shelves, and he made them big so that they would hold the containers that I had. And then I bought this chair on Amazon. It's called a crisscross chair. I can sit crisscross applesauce. I can even hold Ollie in it. Those are my planner supplies, and our printer, a nature journal I'm working on, and some of my shipping things like my scale and paper that we use for our Etsy shop. This old filing cabinet, I decoupaged, I painted it, and then I decoupaged it, and it holds my seed packets, my seed collection for my garden. And let's see, all I did was take old calendars and cut them apart and made like little index cards so that and then I used my labeler to put the name of the plant. This one is flowers and herbs, and the other one is vegetables. So that was just a fun way to organize. And then underneath in that large container are things that I use to make like teas and bath salts, bath herbal things. All my bath items are in there because they're a little bit bigger. And then if we keep going, this shelf we found at let me think, a hospice store in Hickory, and it was only $5. It originally was a Marshall's shelf, I think, but it was dirty, and so I cleaned it up and painted it. And then I found this wrapping paper, and I just Mod Podged the wrapping paper onto the backs of the shelves just to add a little interest. I loved the pink and that it had birds and it had plants. And then I decorated the shelves. That's one of my journals that I've already finished, and then it has some supplies that I don't use as often up there, and some just little decorative things that I like. That New Testament was given to me when I was a baby. This room was like a bright pink color, and I repainted it in a really soft pink. So it just has little things that I can kind of change out seasonally, things I like to look at. And then on this wall, this is one of my most favorite pictures, and it was $1 at the local thrift store. It actually was $1 for the frame. They weren't even selling the picture inside, but I love the picture. It has a little church in the background and a little boy kind of napping after his walk, and then a little deer looking at the boy. So I just love that picture. I thrifted this little light pink shelf. You can't tell that it's pink on here, but it is. And then put in some dried flowers and just some things that I've collected that went with the colors of the room. All the pictures in here are thrifted, so they were all really cheap. And this is my mom's sewing machine that she got when she was a teenager, that her dad bought for her, an old Sears Kenmore. It works for what I need it for. I'm not a big sewer. I've started using sewing in my journal, so sewing the journal cards or the bookmarks. I like the way the stitches look, make it kind of grungy looking. So I've used it for that. I can hem something or sew a curtain in a straight line, but not really very much. But I do enjoy having it out here. And then I found this adorable little pin cushion lady that is pink that I hung up. And a vintage chair. My husband actually made this also. He used an old Singer sewing machine bottom, and then he put an old cabinet door on the top. I did have it as my makeup table, but when we changed this room into my craft room, I wanted it in here so I could get to it easily. So I put the sewing machine on it. And then in this thrifted, beautiful little vase, I have seashells and my seam ripper, some extra pins, and my sewing scissors. And then I thrifted this lamp. It's really heavy, it's beautiful, and it has this old shade. So it's nice for task lighting in that corner. And then over here, this is the window to the front yard. And I have lots and lots of plants in my house, but I particularly like them in this room and in my other daughter's old bedroom because they get the morning sun. My husband found this little 3-tiered rack at a thrift store, and I've used it for a lot of different things, but right now I have old journals, completed journals, or old books that I have collected, some new books on there. This girl I found at the last estate sale that we went to, and I think she was like $3, and I just thought she was beautiful because she had that cute little pink skirt. So for right now, she's hanging out in here. My husband's kind of afraid of creepy dolls that are at estate sales, so maybe I'll use it for him. I don't know. Might scare him with it. And then underneath my plant stand, I have my golden book collection, or children's books, more plants, humidifier, thrifted little pink wicker cart that I have some of my bird reference books in. And then this chest of drawers was my dad's when he was a baby. It used to have a little bear on it, and then we had taken the bear off of it and used it as a chest of drawers for both of our girls when they were babies in their nursery. And so now it's mine just to keep, and inside I have like fabrics and ribbons and yarns. And then on this shelf I have some books that I love, some journals that I have made, finished journals, a little bowl of vintage hair bows that I found at an estate sale, some of my collection of floral creamers and pitchers and tureens, shells. The little lady in the hat toothpick holder was my husband's grandmother's. And then another thrifted picture. And on this wall, this is a gallery wall of things that I've collected that just spoke to me. So I have lots of old botanicals, a couple of small plates, a platter, a sun catcher, just random things. This picture, I love this picture. I kind of designed the room around this picture. It doesn't have a glass. The frame was given to me by a friend that was moving out of the workshop where we have our booth, the antique store where we have our booth, and she was just getting rid of some things that she used for staging, and she had given me the frame to use, so it was free. And then the picture was $1 at an estate sale. Actually, it was $2, but there were 2 pictures in the tube, and I just loved this one, and it was in great condition, so my husband added it to that frame, and I think it's beautiful. It has the flowers that I love and a bird. This old day bed my husband rescued out of he had to help tear down an old cabin from the 1800s in our town, and this old bed was inside, and so he brought it home and sanded it and repainted it, so it just is a little day bed in here. And then this is our puppy Ollie, and Ollie loves to sleep in here, and he looks so pretty with the sun shining in. He's taking a nap. I thrifted the pillowcases that are in this room, all 3 of them. And this printer's tray just has little things that I've picked up at thrift stores or from when I was little or at estate sales. That kind of made me happy. This chair is very comfortable, and this chair was part of a furniture set that my husband and I got when we first got married over 30 years ago. So it's an old chair, but it's super comfy and it matched. So I pulled it in here and I can sit and read or do my devotion. And then the last thing up here, this is my vintage school collection. So I have lots of vintage books and school supplies or figurines, game pieces. As I said, I'm a retired teacher, so I love all things about school. And that little doll up there reminded me of Little House on the Prairie. Those are my Little House on the Prairie collection books from when I was a little girl. So that's it for the tour. Thanks for hanging out with me. You can let me know what you think. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.